So we are going to just combine your addition and multiplication. It is identical to solving equations. You just have to worry about multiplying or dividing by a negative. All right, so the first one, what's my first step here then? If this were an equation, I would subtract 5 from both sides. So I get 3x is greater than 15. What would be my last step if I were solving an equation? Divide by 3. X is greater than 5. On a number line, I would start at my 5. Open or close circle?
Open.
Open circle. Is x bigger or smaller? X is bigger. Okay, that's what the graph would look like. All right, let's look at the next example. All right, so for this one, my first step here would be to subtract my 8, right? Subtract my 8. I get x over negative 3 is greater than or equal to 4. I am dividing by negative 3. What am I going to do? Yeah, I can multiply by negative 3 because it's dividing. So multiply by negative 3. Over here I get my x. I multiplied by a negative. What needs to happen here? I need to flip that guy. Less than or equal to negative 12. So on a graph, I would start at negative 12. I would have a closed circle. Closed circle at negative 12, and x is smaller than negative 12. Smaller than negative 12. All the rules still apply, okay? So what would be my first step here if this were an equation? Right, I need to distribute. Yeah, I have to multiply those parentheses. So I have this negative 3 here that needs to go to both of these. Leave the 4x alone. Negative 3 times positive 2 is negative 6. Negative 3 times positive 2x is negative 6x. And leave this all alone for right now. If this were an equation, I would combine my like terms. I have a 4x and a negative 6x. So I have negative 2x minus 6 is greater than 10. My next step would be to add my 6. Add my 6 to both sides. Again, I haven't touched that greater than or equal to sign at this point, right? Now, my final step is going to be my multiplication or division. What am I dividing by? I am dividing by the negative 2, which gives me my x, but this guy right here needs to flip. And so I get x is less than negative 8. So on number line, I would start at negative 8. I would have an open circle and everything smaller. You can check these. Pick a number less than negative 8. Plug it back in and see if it is a solution. The very first thing we did in this chapter was, is this a solution? Well, you're saying everything smaller than negative 8 is a solution. Negative 10, plug it in and see if it's a solution. All right? And so you can check these. You can pick a number that's in your set that you are telling me is an answer and see if it works. All right? All right, so the difference between this and the last one we did is there are x's on both sides. All right? So we're going to do the same thing. We are going to say, well, I'm going to simplify both sides individually. Then I will move my x's to one side, my numbers to the other, and then multiply or divide. All right, so I'm going to do exactly what I would do with an equation. I'm going to leave this alone. This is really as simple as that side can get, x plus 4. I'm going to leave my greater than or equal to alone. Distribute 5 times x. 5 times 6. And then I have a minus 2x. I need to simplify both sides still. I'm not done. This is still simple. Leave it alone. What can I do on the other side? I have like terms. Yeah. 5x minus 2x. All right. It really doesn't matter which side you move it. With inequality, sometimes people like keeping all their variables on the left and all their numbers on the right just because it's easier when you start graphing them. But it doesn't matter. You can move them to whichever side you want. It will be the same. If I do move my variables to the left, I would subtract this 3x from both sides. All right. 1x minus 3x is negative 2x. And if I do that, then I need to move the 4 to the opposite side. So 30 minus 4 gives me 26. All right. And I still have not multiplied or divided anything. Okay. I still haven't multiplied or divided, so I'm going to leave that guy alone. All right. My last step is always going to be to multiply or divide. And what am I going to multiply or divide by? Yeah, I'm dividing by the -2. Because I divided by a negative, this guy needs to flip. What is 26 divided by -2? -13. On a number line, I start at -13. Is it open or closed?
It's closed.
Closed. It includes it, and x is smaller. So it's the left-hand side. All right. Jeffrey wants to fence in a rectangular garden and has up to 60 feet of fencing available. If the width must be 5 more than half the length, what are the possible dimensions of the garden? All right, so anytime you have a geometric word problem, you probably want to draw a picture of it. He has a rectangular garden. Fencing. Is fencing perimeter or area? Perimeter. So you should know what the perimeter is. 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. That is the perimeter, okay? So this is my width. This is my length. It says the width must be 5 more than half the length. If I have an L for my length, how do I write 5 more than half? If I want it 5 more than 1/2 the length, that's what my W will look like, okay? All right, so my width is this, my length is this. All right, so we're going to fill those in. My length, we said my length is just L. So 2 times L plus 2 times my width. Well, what was my width? 1/2 L plus 5. All right, that's my perimeter, right? 2L plus 2W. It says up to 60 feet. Is that less than or equal to or greater than or equal to? Up to 60 feet. Less than or equal to. He cannot use more than 60 feet. That's all he has. So this is going to be, it has to be less than or equal to 60. So I now have an inequality that I can solve. I leave this guy alone. 2L, what do I do with this 2? What do I do with it? Distribute. 2 times 1/2, that's pretty, and that's just a 1, plus 2 times 5, less than or equal to 60. Like terms, what do I do with my like terms? Combine them. What is 2L's plus 1L? 3L's plus 10 is less than or equal to 60. What's my next step? Yeah, subtract that 10. 3L is less than or equal to 50. And then my last step is to divide by 3. I will say, when I am doing dimensions, I will usually write it in mixed numbers because 50 thirds feet doesn't mean anything. Like you wouldn't go into Lowe's and say I had like 50 feet of rope. They'd look at you like you're crazy, right? So I usually will convert it. So this is going to be 16 2/3. All right, this is in feet. All right, and then if that is my L, I can plug it into solve for my width. So to find my width, I would plug it in. I would multiply by 1/2. And then I would add 5, all right, to find my width. Questions on that?